You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody. Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream. Have you ever dreamt of hiking the AT? Bruce Matson did, so we're going to follow him every step of the way. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream, sponsored by our good friends at Trailtopia Adventure Foods. When Bruce first started talking to me about this trip, he was a listener on the show. When he integrated the idea of fundraising for the ATC into his hike, he became a friend of the trail, and somebody I thought deserved support and a platform. After following along with a successful hike by Jessa Hackman on the Mighty Blue show last year, I really wanted somebody whom I thought had a great shot at finishing. Let's face it, if we'd spent the setup costs and Bruce had quit at Neil Gap, well, it wouldn't have been much of a show, would it? Also, our sponsor, Trailtopia, wouldn't have had much of a return on their money. So I was immediately reassured when Bruce started talking about his preparations for the trip. Now, I know about best laid plans, etc., but Bruce had such an intense eye for detail and his approach was so sensible that, even though I ribbed him about it from time to time, nobody could doubt that he meant business. And when I met his family, I could see why. They are all overachievers. And I dare say that when they set their sights on something, they're going to reach that target. I know that things could still go wrong, as does Bruce, but I'm so impressed with the way in which he has taken on his hike and he's really getting it done. For those of you listening who are contemplating doing this one day, I guess the best compliment I can give Bruce is to say, do what he's done and not what I did. I think I'm a convert to the need for preparation and will certainly be doing more when I head out next March. As I mentioned our sponsor, they've got something to say. When I was hiking, I'd wake up to my alarm, deflate my AirPad and contemplate my blah breakfast. Every morning I poured water into those different coloured paper bags, scrunched around the ingredients, not one of which had any association with fruit, and then eat that soulless gunk. I then find unhydrated powder and sugar in the crevices of the bag. Trailtopia's blueberry oatmeal is a bit of a novelty because it actually has real blueberries. Who'd have thunk? No gunk. It tastes great, the bag design ensures complete hydration, and it really sets you up for the day. Try Trailtopia Adventure Food, the best of home cooking away from home. So now, as I've wooded on about our man, let's listen to Bruce as he's on the verge of entering his 10th state, Connecticut. And, by the way, hang around at the end of our chat because I caught up with Brooke, his lovely daughter, who hiked a few days with him this week. I wanted to know how she thinks he's doing all these miles in. Here's Bruce.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing okay, thanks.
Well, we're just about to have a thunderstorm again. You're getting all the good weather and we're getting the flipping thunderstorms now. Bit of a role reversal. Now, I've been checking about where I think you should be. You're into Connecticut now, I presume, aren't you?
At the end of the day.
Oh, really? You haven't crossed over? Okay, so what mile are you at now then?
I'm not sure, but you'll know where I am. I came through that Appalachian Trail Railroads area, native landscapes area this morning.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
I just climbed the ridge. Yeah, you go through some pastures, and then I climbed the ridge after there, and I'm on top of that ridge now.
Okay. So I'm looking back to where you've been and so on. But before we get onto it, I got a question from somebody, which I thought was quite an interesting question, from somebody called Eric Tomorrow. What a great name. Eric asks, are there any trail towns, and we should include in that lodgings or places or things you want to do, are there any trail towns that Bruce is really looking forward to checking out that he's heard about from other hikers while on the trail but hadn't planned to check out during all his research, which I thought was pretty neat? Because there is definitely a communication amongst hikers, isn't there? And they say, well, you should go here, you should go there. You learn much that you think you hadn't thought about when you first started planning this?
It's hard to get information, but so much, from people ahead of you. I mean, I'm in contact with 3 or 4 people I know pretty well, and I'll ask them, And actually they do highlight. It's interesting timing because there's a town called Pauling, New York,
Yeah.
which I just left this morning, and not a town that I knew anything about or cared much about. But as it turned out, as you know, Brooke was with me for the last 3 days, and yesterday we got her to the train in Pauling, and I decided, for a variety of reasons, to spend the night in Pauling, and then I got Ubered back to the trailhead this morning. But one reason I stayed in Pauling, in addition to the fact that my sleeping pad started failing me 2 nights ago, and I didn't want to sleep another night on the ground.
Oh, dear me.
Because I'll be in Connecticut tomorrow at my sister's house, I can get my pad replaced or fixed, etc. So that worked out well. But a friend of mine said there's a brand new place, bed and breakfast in Pauling called the Station Inn. And it's not on any AWOL or Guthook. Well, it's in Guthook in the comments, but a friend of mine who came through discovered it. It's actually sort of still in construction, but some of their rooms are open. So I stayed there last night, and I had a bed and a dry place. It was horrendous rain 2 nights ago, and it rained a lot yesterday. And now we're heading into a historic heat wave, which I'm delighted about. But Pauling has turned out to be one of the most delightful towns. It had nice restaurants. It had everything a hiker would need. I think it might, become a more popular trail time, particularly with some more accommodations. But a good resupply. They had pizza places. They had Chinese places. They had ice cream places, fine dining, a really great, Northeast deli, which, I was used to as a kid. So in that sense, I didn't know anything about Pauling, and I ended up staying there in part because my friend Sharkbait had emailed about it. So I think that's actually a pretty good answer to the question.
It is because it's the discovery of these places which makes part of the thing such a joyous thing. And the only reason you were there, of course, because you were dropping Brooke off. So you just serendipitously came upon it, which is rather nice, isn't it?
It was great, and I would just recommend any through hikers. 2 things I'd recommend. One is Pauling is a delightful town if you can get in and stay. In fact, in the room next to me was a hiker survivor who I have been with the last few days on the trail, and he was stopping there to go into the city. So it's a good place to stop and then take the train, as Brooke did, back into New York City.
All right.
So I would stop at Pauling because it's a delightful town. It's pretty. It's a train stop. It's got all the things I mentioned. The other thing that is becoming more and more valuable, and I have started doing it, something I haven't done before, is leaving comments in Guthook. I can't
Oh, really? Good.
How valuable it is for me and other hikers to pull up Guthook and say, this water source is dry now, or this shelter, and we had one just a couple days ago. This shelter has been ravaged by a bear. They can't control it. Perfectly hung bear bags are brought down easily by this bear, and people just literally watch this bear take these bear bags down and ravage their food. So that kind of information that is, all real time is really valuable. So to do that with the Guthook app, you have to log in and create a quick profile, because if you want to leave a comment, you can't unless you create a profile.
Yeah.
So I did that recently so that I can share some information too, because I've been using it, and it's been so valuable. I think we all should be sharing with each other, information like that. So you can share information about great lodging, or you can share information about dry streams. Anything, all of those things obviously are very valuable as you're working your way up and down the trail.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people do it in real time is incredibly valuable, isn't it? Because the books that come out, well, they're great for what they are, and they're really good, but they're time limited to a degree, aren't they? So the fact that you got something which is ongoing is great.
Yeah, since Pennsylvania, we've had to really plan water a whole lot more. But before Pennsylvania, water, of course, that was in the spring, but water was wonderful and plentiful in the South. But since Pennsylvania, we've had days we've carried 3 liters, and through New York and New Jersey, it's been much more challenging. And it's not just challenging because things are drying up, but it's also challenging because we're closer to civilization. So the sources that exist are more marginal.
Yeah, crikey, yeah. Are you doing the thing about filling up when you're at a water source, drinking, say, a litre, and then filling up again, making sure you're carrying a bit more, but you're not carrying the weight, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we've had some heat lately. So because of more limited water, because of the heat, I always try to probably drink more water than I really want when I get to a place to filter and restock on water.
So you say there's some pretty bad heat. There's a heat wave coming. I mean, how bad is it supposed to be?
It's historic. They're actually predicting some all-time highs in the New York, Connecticut area.
Wow.
Over 100 degrees Saturday and Sunday, perhaps. So, and then it's supposed to linger on for a few more days, which is really not something I'm looking forward to.
But it's going to get you sweating, isn't it?
It's another way you just have to manage your mind. You have to say, I think the way I'm going to manage it is, unfortunately, we've got a family get together in Connecticut tomorrow, so I'm not hiking tomorrow, and I'm day hiking with Amy on Sunday, and we're just going to have to make a reasonable expectation of miles, and then if the heat continues, I'm going to just back off my miles and do 10 instead of 18, and then just plod along and just go slow enough that I'm not killing myself.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, as I've said in a couple of my commentaries, I don't know whether you listen to all the shows, but how I think you've managed your hike so well, and that really is testament to the planning. I almost hate to admit it, planning is definitely the way forward. And when I go to plan, when I go to do my hike next year, I'm going to plan it a whole lot better than perhaps I did in the past. But you know it's coming, so as you said, you're just going to plod along, and that's really all you can do, isn't it? And you just lower the miles because that's what you have to do. What's it like at night in the heat?
So far, it's been okay. Even with these warm days, as long as it gets down into the mid-60s, it's pretty okay. A lot of nights lately, I get in my liner, and I keep my sleeping bag, right next to me, or sometimes I'll even put my feet in the sleeping bag and then use the sleeping bag as almost like a quilt. Yeah. And normally by the time the morning comes, I have gotten into most of the sleeping bag. And only one night so far, I could not sleep. It was 70, 71, very, very humid. I was just sitting on top of everything, lying there, just not comfortable at all. And about 2 in the morning, a shower came through for an hour or so, and that shower dropped the temperature just enough that I slept, from 3 to 6, I think. But so far, while it has been warm at night, when you settle down, it's been okay. But I'm expecting this. In fact, that's part of my fear. These next 5 days is it may not get below 70 overnight.
Ooh, nasty. So what was it like hiking with Brooke? How long was she there for?
2.5 days. It was great as always. She's tough. She did great and didn't complain because I did work her pretty hard, not really knowingly. New York is an interesting state. As I'm leaving it today, I've been reflecting on, what is, if you had to summarize New York as a state, and my summary is variety, diversity. I mean, there's been a lot of different terrain. Like I'm leaving today on the most beautiful packed earth paths, and I've been getting so tired of rocks. And one of your good listeners and both podcasts, Clay Bonneman, left a really good comment, I think, on my YouTube channel about New York and New Jersey and sort of the nature of them and how they're still rocks and all. And it's been a bit of a struggle. Because it's continued to be difficult. And Brooke was with me during the first day where the profile of the day wall or anyone else looks pretty flat actually. But there's all these micro steep climbs and steep descents all day long. and it just wore us out.
Yeah, it would do.
And
It really does. Yeah, the profile is kind of deceiving, isn't it? Don't you think so? In some ways, I mean, they can't do it in any other way. You know, it looks like it's flapped. It may go down 50 feet and up 50 feet. As long as it stays in the same spot, effectively, it looks like it's flat, doesn't it?
Yeah, we out here we've sort of all agreed that AWOL underestimates the profile just because of the scale it's using, and Guthooks often makes it look harder than it is. So
you can make it look easier on Guthooks if you zoom in and out, can't you? You can make it look less steep.
If I was AWOL, I would actually double the number of pages in the book, and that would give you a better profile. And but of course, people don't want to carry double the pages in terms of a hard copy book. But if you had the PDF in a double the number of pages, I think you could get a better profile. So,
well, I'll pass that along because our guest on the Mighty Blue Show yesterday was George Andrews, who now runs the AOL book.
Oh,
so,
good.
Yeah, so it was a lovely guy as well. Lovely guy.
But you asked me a question about breakfast, I think.
Now, what I was going to say was, yes, you mentioned before, actually, that you thought New Jersey was varied as well. And I think they were two of my surprises, New Jersey and New York. I thought, let's get those over with before we get to Connecticut and it starts getting more interesting. But I found it very interesting and very beautiful in both New Jersey and New York as well. And you seem to be finding the same.
Yeah, I think so. I find New York to have a lot of diversity in the type of trail and the type of terrain. Maybe even a little more diversity because I could go through it. But yeah, they're similar, and there certainly are surprises. I came through this farmer's field this morning, and it's a pretty morning, and it's not gotten too hot yet. And the view back at back out to the west and the ridge line, and partly with the angle of the sun, it was just a beautiful morning. And I made a quick YouTube video, and I noted on it, I said, this isn't what most people think about when they think about New York, but it was, a stunningly beautiful scene this morning.
Was it on Shenandoah Mountain that they've got the flag, the U.S. flag? I think it was Shenandoah Mountain.
I was there. In fact, I dried my tent out on that summit. Right. Brooke and I took a break up there, and I don't want to say Shenandoah, but it does begin with an S.
Oh,
and I don't have my.
All right.
And you could be right. You could be right, but I think it's more Sham something. But
all right, okay.
I don't have my AWOL open in front of me right now.
I can guarantee you a listener will tell me.
That's right.
So, which is fine. Did you stop in at the Graymore Friary? Did you camp there?
I did not, and with Brooke's schedule, it just didn't work out that way. We actually connected at the Appalachian Deli, which is right literally on the trail. It was a good meeting spot. So we went by the road to Graymore like in the first hour of our hiking, probably the first 30 minutes of our hiking. It was close, but just the way we arranged the transport, I didn't have to need to camp there.
So if you're going to get into Connecticut tonight, I believe Connecticut, the border is about almost exactly mile 1,500, isn't it?
No, it's a little short of that. I think it's like 1450.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because I was noting that when I think Amy's with me on Sunday, I think we're going to cross over the 1460. And if you do your math, I think if I've done my math right, 1460 this year is exactly 2/3 of the trip.
Oh, wow. These miles seem to be going. Does this seem to be? Do you feel at this stage you've been away a long time? I was thinking around. I was trying to think back to when I started thinking I'm kind of ready for this to be done, but I really want to get there and I really want to enjoy New Hampshire and Maine, all of which I did. But do you start thinking? Because I wasn't really thinking ahead to Katahdin. It was so far ahead in my mind. But now you've got about 700 miles or 750 miles to go. It's coming into view almost, isn't it, in your mind?
Yeah, you're spot on there, Steve. It's almost like you read my mind. Yeah, coming through New York, I had a couple of tough days. And it was kind of the first time I said, I said it a little more, out of anger back in the roller coaster. But this is the first time that I really said to myself, I need a little attitude adjustment. I still got 700 plus miles to go, and these last few days have been tough and not fun. And I need a little boost, and it does go with that whole notion we've talked about before that I've heard from you and others that trip is great. It's been great, but sooner or later, you've been out here a long time and you want to get it done. And I'm getting close to that. I don't think I'm in any crisis stage, but I can sense that I will be in that place. I'm hoping I can get through Vermont and then say, okay, I've been out here a really long time, but now we only have 2 states to go, and they're the stunningly beautiful states, and that'll carry me to the finish.
Yes, you know what? I think that's precisely how it felt to me. I got really revitalized when I went over the New Hampshire border, and we really started going into spectacular climbing. Not that it certainly wasn't boring. I was thinking to myself at the time, around the miles 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe 1800s, I was thinking, man, this is getting tough on me. And my feet were getting beat up, and they're like hamburger patties at some stage, and my toenails were all gone, and my toes were all numb. And I'm thinking, I really need something. And what I needed, I think, was New Hampshire. I needed a whole new challenge. And New Hampshire is definitely a whole new challenge, but of course you're physically prepared for it by then. And then if you make that mental adjustment, you're mentally prepared for it, and you just have a blast in those last 2 states. Right? I say that was certainly my experience.
Yeah. I think, I'm looking ahead, and I'm constantly thinking through, how to deal with some of these mental challenges, and they haven't been as intense in the past. And but I think from now on, it's going to be a little more imperative that I manage that more actively. With the heat, with the time out here.
You're gonna have a tough week, aren't you, with the heat? Definitely gonna have a tough week with the heat.
I think one of the things that is going to encourage me is, like, today was like the prelude. The trail is going to get back to a more pleasant walking experience until, probably, from I've done all of Massachusetts. I've been getting reports from Vermont, and people tell me the trails up there are actually very pleasant, if maybe muddy sometimes. And in some ways, I'm not expecting the, kind of rough, rocky times until I get back in New Hampshire. I think that'll be a break, because the rocks have been, a bit of a challenge for a little too long.
Yeah, they're certainly not easy. And do you find that your thoughts turn to this sort of thing when you're alone, or do you find it's easier when you're with other people because they're suffering the same as you?
No, it's certainly more when you're alone. I mean, the social aspect of running into friends and tenting with them helps to take the edge off when you're getting a little down about being out here. Anyway, but today, I had Brooke out here. Was a great treat, and today is a nice day, great trail, and I'm having a ball this morning. And I'm looking forward to catching up with my sister's family. My brother-in-law is going to pull me off the trail over at Bowles Bridge. And, to the extent that I was, a little melancholy about how long I've been out here, that's kind of disappeared right now.
Yeah, great. Well, good you drained yourself back anyway. Good for you. All right, mate. Well, look, great to catch up with you. And I'm going to speak with Brooke if I possibly can before we put the episode out. So hopefully we'll add her reflections on afterwards. And possibly Amy once she's hiked with you as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think that would be people would probably get tired of hearing me. So
I don't think so.
That'd
actually.
be great. So,
okay, buddy. Speak to you soon then. All right.
All right.
Cheers.
Take care now. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks to Eric Tomorrow for his question about unexpected places. It could not have come at a better time, Eric, as he discovered Pauling the day before. Send us your home address and Trailtopia will send you a couple of goodie bags in the form of a couple of delicious meals. We've talked about technology in the past, of course, and I know that some people still bemoan its very existence. Yet there is no denying that a water update or a trail review written by another hiker on Guthooks a few days previously is a very valuable resource to any hiker wanting to make it all the way to Katahdin. When I go next year, I'll certainly be taking a copy of either AWOL or the Through Hiker's Guide, but I'm definitely also going to take Guthooks on my phone. I still don't doubt my ability to take the wrong turning from time to time, but one of these will surely get me back on track. Now, here's something I don't often do. A couple of years ago, I wrote my story of the Appalachian Trail with 2 volumes titled My Appalachian Trail 1 and My Appalachian Trail 2. Since I wrote them, you fine folk have kept the 2 books in the top 20 camping books on the Amazon store. Sadly, this week, one of them is on the verge of dropping outside the top 100. As I say, I don't advertise these books that much, so please stick with it. But if you're in search of a story which will tell you way more than you're ever going to want to know about me and my trip, I'd be very happy if you hop over to the Amazon store and buy a copy for just $3.99 each. If you like printed copies, just email me at steve@hikingradionetwork.com and I'll sign and send you both volumes for the bargain sum of $25, including the postage. Okay, commercial over. As I said, I wanted Brooke's take on her father's progress so far, so I caught up with her in New York. Here's Brooke. Okay, we're back on now with Bruce's daughter, Brooke. Hi, Brooke. How are you?
Hi, Mighty Blue. How are you?
Oh, please don't. Steve.
Hi,
funny.
Steve.
How are you? So you've spent a couple of days with your dad. How far did you actually hike with him this time?
Let's see. I hiked with him Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning just for a little bit. We did 14 on Tuesday, 15 Wednesday, and then we just hiked 3.5, something like that, into town and caught a ride into town on Thursday. So we did a little over 30 miles.
You're a trooper getting straight into 14-mile days. He didn't.
Well, that was a record for me personally, but it was good. It was really good.
How did it feel? Did it feel good to get back out there in the woods?
It did. Very different from when I met him in March. It was very cold at the time and very brown. Obviously, it wasn't springtime or summertime, so there weren't a whole lot of plants or anything like that. But everything's very green up here. Certainly much warmer and more comfortable in terms of temperature, but it was good. I had a little bit of a rough day the first day. I think I need new shoes. I just don't feel like my shoes have enough support in them. So my feet were really aching by the end of both days. So I was struggling a little bit on Tuesday. Did better Wednesday, but I think I need to get some new shoes.
Has he sort of taken on that through hiker hue? Is that deeply ingrained dirt and things like that? Or does he still look the same to you? I know he's lost a huge amount of weight, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he still looks the same to me. Of course, the weight loss certainly changes his appearance, but I think overall he still looks the same to me.
All right. Does he look well, do you think? He does. I mean, I watch his
Absolutely.
I watch his videos myself. He looks really well to me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he looks good and sounds good, and I think he hikes a little bit faster than he did, at the beginning, which I think would be expected as you get stronger and fitter throughout the hike over time.
Yeah.
So I felt like, maybe when I hiked with him in March, maybe I could have pushed a little bit faster without too much trouble, but I didn't want to go any faster than we were going this time. So I wonder if he's picked up his pace a little bit.
All right.
Not necessarily intentionally, it's just as he's gotten fitter and stronger.
Yeah, and you get this way, don't you? I mean, I know everybody was pretty sure that he was going to be able to cope with this, and he seems to be able to cope with it so well. As I said to him a few times, I was never a planner, but I'm such an admirer of the way he's planned and managed his hike. He knows when things are going to be tough, doesn't he? And because he's prepared for it, and he handles it so well.
Yeah, and I think, as he said, in the second half on the back end of this hike, he's kind of loosened up from the schedule a little bit and kind of gone with the flow a little bit more based on how he's feeling and, just kind of what he wants to do rather than what he said he would do initially in terms of mileage or where he was going to stay and things like that. So I think he's certainly very prepared, but doing a little bit more on the fly in contrast to the first, quarter to a half.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask him if he ever refers back to that original spreadsheet to see where he was expecting to be now. Do you actually know where he was expected to be?
I don't know where he was expected to be now. I think, and you can ask him, I may be wrong, but I think the second half was never as planned as the first half.
Right.
So he might have had an idea, but it was not, the level of detail was not the same as the first half.
Yeah. Now, I know he's the same guy, but do you see the impact of the trail upon him apart from the weight loss, or is there anything within him that you think has changed just subtly?
That's a good question. Nothing's coming to mind. at the moment, but maybe I haven't asked him the right questions. Maybe there are things under the surface that haven't bubbled up yet. Maybe we didn't hit those notes on the hike.
I think a lot of it comes of reflection after the hike, actually, when you realize something that you've changed in yourself. And I'm sure,
I think so.
I don't think you can spend 6 months in the woods by yourself without having some sort of impact upon you. And I'm sure he'll see those as time goes on. And did you meet many of his hiking friends?
We met a couple. I did not meet anyone that he had hiked with for any significant amount of time previously. I think he and the couple of other people that we saw noted that it was a little bit quiet on the trail. I would say, over the course of 2 to 3 days, we kind of only hung with the same 3 to 4 people, right. And we're kind of leapfrogging over each other.
Sure.
So we didn't see that many people. I mean, we weren't tenting alone, but there weren't a ton of other people out there.
Right. And what about water? Because he said water's starting to get more of an issue out there. Were you finding it difficult? Because you do have to keep hydrated, don't you? Really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I felt like I was drinking a fair bit, and I think we were certainly always considering the next watering. As you always do, how much farther do we have until the next water? Are we carrying enough now? And I would always just rather be safe than sorry. That's weight I'm willing to carry. He's maybe a little willing to risk it a little bit more than I am. But we never had any close calls, or we were never desperate for water. We always were able to plan accordingly and have enough for the distance we needed to cover.
Yeah, well, I recorded him this morning, and we've both been quite surprised how diverse and how beautiful New York and New Jersey both were. I mean, you were hiking in New York, weren't you?
Yes, I was in New York. Well, those first 14 miles, that were really hard. I'll tell you, there was not a single view the whole 14 miles. I didn't see anything until day 2. I think that made the first day especially tough too. It was not very rewarding. A lot of little ups and downs over rocks. So I would say the second and third days were much more enjoyable in terms of the trail itself.
Right. Are these 2 and 3 day bites, 2 and 3 day bites sufficient for you? There was nothing in this thing that made you want to do this longer?
Not particularly. I mean, I like it while I'm out there, but 2 to 3 days is good. I might feel different if after 2 to 3 days I went, stayed at the hotel and took a shower and kind of regrouped and went for another 2 to 3 days. I'm sure I could do that, but I'm ready for a shower and a bed after 2-3 nights. But I did a fair amount of planning transportation wise to figure out how to meet him. I don't know if that's something people would be interested in.
Yes.
To and from the city and using Metro North to get out there, not using the Appalachian Trail train station because it's closed during the week. It's a weekend only service.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something people are interested in.
You can, yes, you tell us that, because he said he took you into Pauling to get back to the AT, didn't it? To New York, rather. How did you get to meet him then?
So going both ways, I took Metro North from Grand Central, 2 different lines. Right. Going out there to meet him, I took Metro North, the Hudson line, which is on the east side of the Hudson and just basically follows the Hudson north from the city, and got up in Peekskill, and then took a lift from the train station to Appalachian Market. I think it's on Route 9. I don't remember the number of the road, but that was just a 10-minute drive from the train station in Peekskill. And then we hiked, and then on Thursday we got the lift back into Pauling, and Pauling is on the Harlem line which is a Metro North line back into the city. So it worked out really well.
How long did they take each way?
So going out there it took an hour, and coming back took 2 hours. It's not that much
bad,
farther, but I think there are more stops coming back. It's not that far distance-wise, but I think there are more stops. But yeah, it's really easy.
I never would have thought that. I
just took the subway from Amy's apartment.
Yeah.
Tuesday morning. I just walked back on Thursday.
Wow. I never would have thought it was so accessible. So literally an hour from leaving the city, you could be on the Appalachian Trail. That's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was amazing.
So how did you work that out? Did you read it somewhere, or did you just have to work it out?
I did do a little bit of research online. A couple people have on various message boards and things that I've seen have asked the same question: how to get to and from the AT from the city, and try and work out a couple-day hike. And most people reference the Appalachian Trail train station that's on the trail, but it's not an option during the week.
Yes, it literally opens just Saturday and Sunday, does it?
Yes. I mean, I guess you could stand on the platform, but I don't think the train's going to stop to get you. I think it's just going to go. There's not really anything to open or close. It's not a building, right? It's a platform, as you know. So I think the train would just go by you. Dad said to look at the Metro North schedules and routes, and we just kind of worked it out. So it worked out well.
Very cool. So when do you think you'll go back? Are you going to go up Katahdin with him, or are you going to see him before then?
I'm not going to be able to see him before then for sure. I have a week off of school now, so this is my vacation this week, and then go back to school next week. And so it just kind of depends on what time of year it is and what the school situation is regarding Katahdin. I hope I could go up there, but it just kind of depends on what's happening at school.
Yeah, I hope you can go up there with him as well. I mean, the support he's got from home is just great for him. So to be able to have you there finishing with him and Amy and your mum would be terrific for him. But so fingers crossed. Yeah, that
would be fun.
Fingers crossed for that. Okay. Well, thanks for catching up, Brooke. Lovely to hear from you. And you don't appear to have caught the bug yet. You haven't said, I'm definitely going to do the through hike one day. What I'm planning on here is when Bruce finishes, we're going to volunteer you as our next person we follow. So for another through hike. Okay, Brooke. Lovely to talk to you, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
It sounds good. Thanks so much.
Cheers then. Bye.
All right. Bye.
He's really getting his hiking buddies out with him, isn't he? Making the poor girl start with a 14-miler was a bit tough, I thought. Nice to hear from Brooke. That's it for the show this week. We hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to support Trailtopia and my books. Bruce and I will see you next week.